Welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva, and today we're going to get some insight on swimming and recruiting at Division I, II, and III level. My guest today is Steve Fletcher. He's the head coach for men's and women's swimming at Rutgers University. And welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Anthony. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, no problem. So, Steve, usually I start my guests where they went to college. Where'd you go?
I went to Lafayette College, which is a small Division I mid-major in Easton, Pennsylvania. There were about 2,500 students there when I attended, a small private school, but not far from my home in New Jersey, in Woodbury, New Jersey, where I grew up. Oh. And so didn't go too far afield, but was far enough away from home where I had a great experience there. So,
oh, great.
Yeah.
So now, swimming. Did you go to college to swim?
I chose a school based on the opportunity to swim. So it was on a long list of criteria for me, but it was a very important one. You know, the opportunity to swim. I wanted to be somewhere in the middle of the roster where I had a chance to compete in let's say, dual meets, regular season meets, and at a conference championship. But I wasn't going to be the best guy on the team, but would have an opportunity to improve and potentially move up a little bit. I didn't want to get in over my head. And I didn't want to be the best on the team the day I walked in the door. So I wanted a challenge over 4 years. And I did learn that through the recruitment process myself. I didn't go into the selection as a 17-year-old saying, that's what I'm looking for. But having talked to a lot of coaches at a lot of schools, that became my goal through that process.
Okay. So now, did you start early in the process, like freshman year, or did you start when you were a senior? How did it begin?
Yeah, I was lucky because I had older brothers. And so my parents, we did the drive up and down 95 and then in the southeast with my older brothers, and I got to see a lot of schools as a young guy. So about 4 or 5 years ahead of my own college search, I was looking at schools. I was not as maybe focused on that as my next step because I was a young guy, but I was watching my brothers go through the process. My parents took me along on those visits, and those schools and those visits still made an impression. So I had probably 3 opportunities to go through the process through my 2 older brothers and then myself because my parents were active in getting us out, let's say junior summer prior to the senior year. Right. That was an important time.
So you started earlier just because your brothers were older.
That's exactly right, yes. And then I had an opportunity to visit them at school when they were in schools to see what their environment was like. And so that was also a unique opportunity in being a third sibling.
Good. So now you go on to college, you swim there. How did you become the head coach at Rutgers University?
I did love the sport, obviously, and did it from a very early age, and had great experiences with it. So I was lucky to have good coaching throughout my career, great college coaches too, and great teammates, and a really fun team experience in college, where our team started sort of at that sort of low end of the competitive spectrum, and over 4 years our team really improved when I was at school, and so competitively speaking it was a lot of fun to be part of that and to help build that, and swimming has always been part of me, our family, and so I had an opportunity to get a graduate degree at Rutgers right out of undergraduate from Lafayette, and the graduate assistantship paid in the swimming and diving program, paid for my master's degree. So I was an assistant coach essentially with a small stipend but a free master's degree coaching at Rutgers as a recently graduated undergrad. And then there at Rutgers, I worked for a coach who had been coaching there for 30 years, Rich Coppola, who's a Trenton area native and well known in New Jersey swimming, and had built a really fine program at Rutgers, and I was there towards the tail end of his career, and being part of that experience, working for him, developed my interest in, he was a mentor of sorts, and the environment he created, the specific environment he created at Rutgers, and the work he put into that really attracted me to the career.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So now, how many years you been there now?
Well, so I started there in 1992 as an assistant coach, and I was the graduate assistant for 3 years. And then I hung on for 2 more years part-time. Really, I could have volunteered. I enjoyed it so much. It didn't matter to me how much I was making. And other part-time jobs on the side, trying to piece it together, which is how you start in coaching. You have to move and shake a little bit. From there, interviewed for the position after Rich retired. wasn't really ready. I was a young coach, limited experience, only at one institution, and so I think it was sort of of course that made me more excited to get the experience to be ready. And then I went fortunate to go to Rutgers University for a year as an assistant coach. Much different place, State University of New Jersey, 36,000 students, take a bus from campus to campus, not like Rider, very small place. So it was Division I, but at a much larger scale, but still something I'm familiar with because my sister swam at Rutgers. I knew the school pretty well. So that was a great experience. 1 year with a brand new head coach who came in with a new agenda and really changed the program. And so I got to see a new head coach come into a position and implement his program. Which there's a lot of good and bad that comes with that, a lot of challenges and things of that nature, and opportunities. So 1 year there at Rutgers, and then was at Franklin and Marshall College in Lancaster, 3 years, as a head coach of men and women. That was my first head coaching position in Division III at Franklin and Marshall. Great, highly selective private liberal arts school in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Great experience. Had great leadership there administratively, terrific colleagues in the coaching ranks there, a lot of experience, and then moved back to Rider when the opportunity presented itself a couple years later, 3 years later.
Wow.
So this will be my 15th season as the head coach at Rider, but really I have 22 years head coaching experience at the college level, starting at Rider, in the beginning, my first year.
Yeah, so it's a big circle that you
It is, yeah, and I'm very grateful for it.
Great.
Yeah.
So now let's get into the recruiting. How does a high school student, boy or girl, get into swimming? What's the steps that they have to take to get into the swimming where they want to go on to college and swim at the college level?
I think there's great opportunities in this area for that. How I started was through summer league swimming. For fun, for enjoyment in the summertime. That was what it was about, learning and fun. And then from there, I think a lot of swimmers will make a larger commitment at some point in their careers to swimming as their primary or secondary sport. It is a conditioning-based sport that requires, a lot of time and to develop skill and also the conditioning necessary to be good, both in present day and 10 years down the road when you're in college, things like that. On the other hand, I was playing other sports prior to high school, and I think that's also valuable. We have at Rider a lot of athletes that are three-sport athletes in high school. Swimming is one of those sports. They choose it in college, and they're exceptional in the pool, and their potential improves because they have an athletic background. Okay. They can jump, they can move, they're agile, they know their right from their left, they're coordinated. Simple things like that other sports teach you.
Yeah.
As well as just understanding the game in other sports definitely helps you as an athlete, period. So being a multi-sport athlete, I think it can be an advantage, and focusing just on swimming doesn't have to be an advantage, and that's at least how we look at it from where we recruit. Mm-hmm. Sometimes a multi-sport athlete can have a lot of great characteristics that will lend themselves to better swimming down the road.
So do students, do they start real early? Is it where you start at 8 years old, or do you start when you get into high school?
Seen both things be successful, both ways. I think starting at an early age, you're given more time to develop the skills and technical skills that are necessary and the conditioning that are necessary. There are some athletes, I can name a few that we've recruited that were high school swimmers only, 3-4 months out of the year, 4 years of high school swimming, and have tremendous potential in our conference, at Rider, and potentially regionally and nationally, depending on their other sport background, So it doesn't have to be, I swam since I was 6, that's all I did. I swam year round, I never played another sport. It doesn't have to be that. Certainly where we're coming from at Rider and in our conference and what we're looking to recruit. Other conferences, your fully funded programs, your bigger conferences, you may have to do that to get to that level.
Okay. So now, do students need academic grades? They need, what do they need to get to a school like Rider University to swim?
Yeah, at Rider, it's essential for us. I mean, we have all of our student athletes on our roster, we'll have roughly 50 student athletes. I coach men and women, so we'll have 50 on our roster this year in 2015, and every single athlete on our roster is carrying some type of academic merit scholarship. And it boils down to cost of attendance. At a private school, or even at a state institution, families are going to want to be as competitive as they can for merit scholarship, and those merit scholarships are available and they're reasonable at Rider in terms of the criteria to qualify. Then you need to maintain a certain GPA to keep those scholarships throughout your career. Right. And so there's extra incentive on the athlete's part and on the coach's part to keep an eye on the student athlete's development in the classroom just as much as you are keeping an eye on it in the pool and the gym. So it's really important because it does provide the opportunity for a lot of families to afford Rider.
Okay, so now how do you recruit? What's the process that you take in recruiting kids?
Well, we do a number of things. We have an outreach, and we also have a reactive process. So we have two processes. One is the outreach is by hard mail and by email, and through coaches that we know. My assistant coach and I have a network of coaches that we've gotten to know over the years, certainly being involved in swimming in this area too, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, Delaware. We have an understanding of the environments there, and also the coaches, clubs, high schools that tend to be good in the region. And we even have some personal connections and contacts with those coaches. So that's part of the outreach. Those are a higher yield outreach for us if you have a relationship with those coaches and programs, and it's a little less yield when you're sending mail out and email out to a general population. But we'll send mail and email out nationwide, and we'll recruit regionally through personal contacts, coaching contacts. And we've made some coaching contacts outside the region through some of our recruitment outside the region. We've got athletes on our team from Minnesota, from Wisconsin, from Texas, from California, from Florida, wow. Ohio, really all over, Nevada, St. Croix. So we have sort of a broad reach in recruitment, and our roster has shown that over the years, and we've maintained those relationships with those coaches. So that's the outreach part. And then there's a reactive part, which is, I think, important for your viewers to understand is don't be afraid to email a coach, call a coach, go on an unofficial visit on your own time and visit the campus, meet with the coach, talk to them, and you'll know a variety of things from that experience. And so that's our reactive recruiting when we get those emails, and we get a lot of them: emails, voicemails, letters, with interest. So a lot of it starts there. Reactive.
So now, if a student is doing, let's say they're not doing high school. Let's say they're just doing club. Is that someone that can go to college and swim at the college level? Absolutely.
I mean, if we're talking summer club, that's still certainly possible. But if we're talking USA Swimming or YMCA, those two areas, those club programs, there's a lot of potential from those programs. Some college programs will only recruit from those types of athletes. The year-round athlete that competes at the absolute highest level as a junior national level swimmer, a senior national level swimmer, they'll only look at those things. But in our environment, with partial scholarship funding, we're looking to develop athletes. That's how our team is going to be good. We have to coach and develop them. Mm-hmm. We can't buy them with scholarships. So we have to be able to more clearly interpret the intangibles, the potential that a student athlete has, right, to get better in the sport. So the other schools can focus on buying the top athletes that have proven themselves, and we're focusing on finding the athletes that have something to prove and can get better. So.
Gotcha. So now, if a student is interested in going to swim at the college level and is not really getting recruited that highly, is that student more apt to go to a Division II or Division III level? How are the differences between right. Division I and II and III?
Right. Well, I did coach in Division III, so I have some perspective on that. And the answer there is it just depends on the philosophy of the athletic department and the coach. Coaching in Division III, I had some outstanding athletes that could have competed in Division I programs for athletic scholarship. They chose Franklin and Marshall because of the academic track they wanted. And Rider is similar. So as a Division I school, so it really the Division I, II, and III category doesn't preclude or include, participation, sort of based on the definition. You really have to get to know the coach, you have to get to know the program, the conference that they're in, the athletic department, their philosophy. Because there's opportunities at all divisions, NAIA. There's lots of different opportunities there. Even junior college swimming, and then transferring out after getting an associate's and going to a 4-year school. There's a ton of different routes you can take, and athletes or student athletes shouldn't be thinking that Division I is the be-all, end-all, or there's lots of great opportunities, and there's lots of very competitive Division III schools that could beat Division I schools with scholarship in a dual meet in swimming, and vice versa. You really have to get to know the coach, program, and department.
So now, what are the scholarships are at a Division I school? You said that Ryder doesn't have it. It's half funded, I guess you said, right?
Partially. We have academic scholarships. Like I said, we have 100% of our student athletes on our team are on some type of academic scholarship, and the discount there at Ryder is between $6,000 and $22,000 a year, which is extremely significant. And the athletic scholarship we have is partial, and we would offer it if the athlete qualified. We'd offer it as additional support. And what I tell families is that it's not. The money isn't going to be something that's going to make you turn your head and say, we absolutely must choose Ryder because this offer is too wonderful to pass up. It's really about helping families that recognize that our coaching staff, our program is unique, our school is unique, the degree is unique, our culture is unique, and the additional help makes it that much easier for us to commit to that opportunity and the value there. So we have a job to let, every day really, to coach our athletes and create a culture where families recognize that value and see it, in what we do, and are willing to invest their savings in something for their son or daughter like that.
Now, at a Division I level school, do they have how many scholarships do they have available?
At fully funded programs for men, it's roughly 10, 9.9 in swimming, 14 in women, full grants in aid, which is an incredible budget, and would be. If we had that type of budget, it would be scary how much better we'd be. I think we're pretty good now, but we'd be extremely competitive with that type of support. There's all kinds of sort of levels beneath that, partial funding, and so we do have athletic scholarship to work with. It's limited, and our philosophy is to create the best team possible. Some coaches may handle that differently. They may look at that sum of scholarship and say, I'm going to recruit 4 guys and 4 women, or let's say 5. The best male diver I can find, the best female diver I can find, and 1 athlete in each of the strokes to have tremendous relays, and that's it. Or I might recruit guys and women that can compete at the national level right away as seniors in high school and spend all those resources on those athletes. That's not the type of philosophy we have. We're trying to create the best team possible and push those two philosophies to the point where you have better athletes competing with each other in the same team, in the same training groups. And I think that there's better athlete development and a much more exciting team experience for those athletes. So that's why we do it.
And what's the expectation of the student when they get there? Because a lot of parents out there, they have this preconception of Division I schools. It's all about the sport. It's not about academics. Right. What do you say about that?
I say it's not true. It's about both. And you could say from a purely competitive standpoint, if I have 100% of my roster on an academic scholarship that is nearly 40% discount, we better make sure that our students are on the right track. Otherwise, we're going to lose them. So to maintain those academic scholarships, they have to perform at a certain level. That's purely from a competitive standpoint. From a philosophical standpoint, as a coach, as a staff, as a program, as a team culture, we value graduation, and we value the degree, and we value our athletes' experience in the classroom. And so that is a huge focus in our program. It takes a tremendous amount of our coaching energy. We don't just coach our athletes in the pool, we coach them also in the classroom to the point that we can. We're not faculty members in the academic sense, but we have great relationships with our faculty on campus, our academic faculty, and we work hard as coaches to create those and to maintain those so that we can understand where our athletes are falling short, where they need to improve. There's a number of different resources at Ryder which are exceptional, academic support resources the Student Success Center on campus, tutoring services. The academic faculty are available for advisement, for one-on-one appointments. That's where we encourage our students to start when they're struggling is, have you met with your professor yet?
Yeah.
And are you attending class all the time? Which is an expectation of our program, 100% class attendance as a swimmer on our team.
Wow.
And our athletes do those things. It's not just talk.
Now, there's also diving out there. Is that part of the swimming team, or is
It
that
is.
a separate coach and a separate entity?
Right. Years ago, it was maybe the same coach. Now it's usually an assistant coach that's coaching diving. That's the setup in our program. We have an assistant coach who coaches diving, who's been with us for 4 years now, and that's becoming more and more difficult to find divers. We've even gone to the point this year, we're excited that we have a gymnast, an ex-national gymnast coming in as a freshman, and she's going to convert from gymnastics to diving.
Wow.
But she competed at a very high level as a national level gymnast in high school, and in high school gymnast. And then a girl who is a trampoline athlete that competed at a national level in trampoline is going to be a freshman on our diving squad for the women this year. 2 women that are coming in with very, very little diving experience. They may have been on the board for a couple of weeks with a coach, but tremendous gymnastics, trampoline background at a national level with a lot of the, requisite skills, and hopefully we'll be able to transfer those skills. And our diving coach has a big road ahead of him. He's good at developing, and developing talents. So these women have some great skill sets, and they just need to learn to land on their head, which is very different in diving. But
Yeah.
so that's a challenge. It's more and more difficult to find divers at the high school level. Schools are getting rid of diving. They're separating swimming and diving, or they're getting rid of it altogether because of the liability of the equipment at their institution. And so it's tougher and tougher to find them. So we're going now to the gymnastics community, trampoline, and trying to find athletes that have skills that can be, converted.
So now, what's the year-round training program for a swimmer? Is there a fall season, a spring season, a winter season? How does it work all the way? When the student comes in August, right? Or do they come in earlier than that?
Right. So our competitive season, is essentially October to April. In that time frame, and we'll start training right away the first week of class. The NCAA gives us a structure by which we can run a full year of training, full academic year of training. So we take advantage of that. So we train from the day they walk on campus to the day they walk off at the end of the academic year. Our competitive season is essentially middle of October till end of March, early April, depending on how far the athlete makes it, qualifying for a postseason competition. So we don't bring them in early, but first day we're started.
So during the Christmas holiday season, they're at school, they're working out, they're doing.
Right. There's a couple breaks that the students have. The Thanksgiving break is a couple days. It's 48 hours really for our athletes, and we require them to train at home. We come back to a pretty big mid-season meet after the Thanksgiving break, so we want them to stay fit and ready to go for that. So there's no real break there at Thanksgiving. They're home for a day or two. Our athletes that are from further away, like our California guy, our Texas guy, our Florida guy, they'll usually go home with a friend, a teammate locally, and they'll train with that. And they'll eat, have the holiday meal with that family, that type of thing, which is really nice. Our families are great that way. Then the semester break. Our athletes go home around the 23rd of December and come back on the 1st of January. So a very limited break there. We also require them to train at home to maintain their fitness levels, and we'll give them parameters and things. We encourage them to be with their team, club coach, high school coach, with their team training. It's a better environment to keep them going rather than training on their own. So a small break there, 7-8 days. And we're back training during the semester break, really from January 1st to January 30th when there's no class. The NCAA doesn't regulate the training as much during that time, so we're able to train a lot. We'll train two times a day every day, for example.
And then when the season ends in March or April, what do they do from April until August or September that year?
We give them that's the longest break we give them after our championship season. We give them about 2.5 weeks off, which is needed at that time. There's missed class time for championship travel during the spring semester, which can be a challenge, especially for freshmen, adjusting to that, missing class for a week or 2 weeks. To travel for championships. So getting back on your feet academically, the time is important for that. And just refreshing mentally, physiologically after a long season. Then we'll start back up, let's say, beginning of April, run like 6 weeks of training prior to them going home for the summer. Just to prepare them to jump in with their club at home and train year round. We have I'd say, 90% of our athletes on our team right now, our upperclassmen anyway, returning upperclassmen, are training year-round. They're training in the summer. They're committed to it. They're training with their club. They're competing in the summer, or they're committed to being better in some way in September. So we're really proud of that stat, and it wasn't that way when I started. So we're very proud of that.
So now, in the 15 years you've been there, how's the team?
I think it's great. It's improved a lot. But there are certain elements of the sort of the older program, of, let's say, the Coppola era. There was a coach in between myself and Rich, and the Coppola era, which is what I identify with as an assistant. Coach had a knack of managing people, understanding people, listening. He was a great coach in that sense, a great mentor. So I learned a lot of my style from him, and the things I wanted to implement in our program to keep his sort of legacy going was to maintain that community, that positive community, and try to be the best mentors we could be as coaches to these guys in their college experience. That includes watching over their academic success, thinking about their future after Rider, trying to connect them to our alumni to say, where are we going next with this experience? Can't swim the rest of your life, right? So what's next? And Coach did a great job, Coppola, of connecting the dots. Coming in as a freshman, graduating as a senior, caring for you while you're in the program, and pushing you and challenging you. And so we wanted to do that, but then take the competitiveness of the program to an entirely new level. That was sort of our goal.
So we're coming to the end of our show. Usually my last question is, what advice do you want to give to the families out there that have sons and daughters that want to go on to college and swim at the college level?
Reach out to the coaches. Do some research on the conference championships. Look at the results are so available online now. If there are schools that appeal to your son or daughter based on academics and degree first, look at the conference they compete in. Look at their schedule from last year, the year before, their dual meet schedule. Look at their results. Look at the conference championship results. See where your athlete would fit in. If they're going to be a scorer, top 16 in the conference, they're going to be a scoring competitor. Then that's a place where they're going to be valued. And there are so many different levels of that. Don't be turned off by Division 1, 2, 3, or NAIA and any of those categories. If a school has the right academic environment for your son or daughter, it's the right place. Talk to the coach. Reach out. Find some schools above, sort of reach schools athletically, and schools where they'll come in and be a little stronger, and narrow it down. Reach out to the coaches. Very important.
Well, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it.
Great. I appreciate it coming in. Thanks so much for your help.
Yeah, no problem. So you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.